Mayor Hess, and I'm calling to order our public hearing. It's Monday, October 9th, 2017. It's now 7 p.m. We're going to review and hear public comments on an ordinance amending the City of Buchanan zoning ordinance, Article 3, definition and use of terms, Article 10, C2 Commercial District, Article 7, Light Industrial District, Article 8, 1 to 2 Heavy Industrial District, Article, I should have really worked on my Roman numerals in school, sorry. Article 18, Special Provisions, Article 23, Non-conforming Uses, Buildings and Lots, Article 17, General Provisions. At this time, though, I would like to make it clear, if you are here specifically to speak about the property at 509 Rynearson, if you're here about that issue, you are free to go because the request for the rezoning of that property has been withdrawn. So we will not be discussing the property at 509 Rynearson this evening. Just in case there was some carryover, we realized there were some people talking about that on Facebook. And if you're here about that issue, that is no longer an issue. All right, and with that, we're here for public comment. Each person has 3 minutes to come to the microphone. You must, by our Code of Ordinances, state your name and your address for the public record. We'll start as soon as we get a volunteer. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Secretary. My comment.
I'm sorry,
I'm
you
Dr.
need to state.
Patricia Moore,
Thank you.
City Commissioner and resident at 201 Terracoop Street. And I just wanted to make a comment also to spur on some public comment here. I want to direct your attention to section 18.10, page 4, letter C. And it is a very short sentence. In the consideration of granting a special use permit, the setback from residential uses shall be evaluated as it relates to the surrounding areas. For a very big concern that is like one sentence, I would like to see more detail or how that surrounding areas, what is the surrounding areas that are going to be taken into consideration. I would like to know, like, what, more specifically, what is the impact and what will be considered in more detail.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got this one?
Cindy Benson, 212 Cecil Street. Pat, I think that meant that it's helping consider neighborhoods in the area as part of it. And I want to make sure that whatever zoning ordinance was sent over, as I listened to them discussing it, it sounded good to me because it protects people. It protects neighborhoods. And maybe it could be more specific, I don't know, but I think they had discussions about why it couldn't be. So they'll need to address that. But it was a good ordinance that was sent over. So that's my comment.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Marks. I wanted to acknowledge that with the consideration of different language about the C3, I want to let people know publicly that I do own a building within the C3 district. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else this evening for the ordinance before we move on? Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to need a motion to continue this public hearing at our next meeting, which would be October 23rd, because we're still working on some of these things, and we would like to continue this public comment section at the next commission meeting, which would be October 23rd. So I need a motion for that.
Your Honor, can I make a small, short comment?
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
I will not be here for that meeting. I will
Okay.
be out of town.
Okay.
I don't know if you still want to make it for the 23rd or I don't know.
I think we want to go ahead and make it on the
Okay, I just want to
23rd.
let you know that I will not be in town.
Okay. Can I get a motion to, okay, can I get a second?
I'll support.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Hess,
Yes.
Tarney,
Abstain because I really won't be here.
Okay.
I don't know if I should
to vote,
vote on something.
You have to vote on it.
Yeah, I think you can go ahead.
I can
Yes,
vote
you
on
can
it?
vote
I
on
wasn't
it.
sure.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay, and with that, we are just going to continue this public hearing on the 23rd. So if you're still interested in this issue, you would want to come to the meeting on the 23rd. And with that, we're going to move on to our regular agenda meeting. Again, I'm Mayor Hess, in case you've just arrived. It's Monday, October 9th, 2017. It is now 7:06 p.m., and I'd like to call this meeting to order. And at this time, we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you would rise and please join us.
Go ahead, ladies.
Thank you. This evening for our invocation, we are joined by Pastor Joseph, and he is from the Salvation Army.
Good evening. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for today. We thank you for a chance to gather and discuss the business of the city. We ask, Lord, that you'll just bless us and bless this meeting. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Joseph. All right, we're under Article 2, and we're at the portion where the downtown business presentation for Hometown Video Building, corner of Front Street and Days Avenue, and Commissioner Dan is going to speak to this.
Actually, I'm just going to turn this over to this gentleman sitting right here with his legs crossed in front of me, and he can take over from me. I just put my name on it because I wanted to make sure it was on the agenda.
Thank you. My name's Rick Paniagua. I currently live in Chicago, and I've had a home in the area for many years. I'm here with Mark Passerini. He's one of the partners from the Ohm of Medicine. Ohm's been operating a cannabis provisioning center on Main Street in downtown Ann Arbor since 2010. They plan to apply for several licenses throughout the state, including one here in Buchanan. We thank you for the opportunity to share our idea for a development project in downtown Buchanan. While permissible locations on Hilltop might be right for some operators, the Ohm model is different. It's upscale, owner-operated, small business. It integrates into its community and is very focused on service. Mark will tell you in a few minutes about many ways that they serve in Ann Arbor and the way they work with the community, the police force, et cetera. One of our ideas is to restore and repurpose the Main Street Hometown Video Store into a multi-business live-work place, something that's attractive, friendly, inviting, and will bring business to the downtown area. We think that these types of projects with the right operators can be consistent with the goals that you have in the city's master plan and the goals of the community. And with that, I'm going to let Mark tell you about Ohm and the way that they serve in their community.
Thanks, Rick. And I don't know if I need this. Maybe I do. Mayor Hess and the council members, I appreciate you allowing me to take the time to introduce my business to you folks. Like Rick said, we've been in operation. This is our 8th year. And from what I can tell, I've been really kind of surveying the state of Michigan since this law was signed by the governor about a year ago now. And currently, there are less than 20 communities in the state of Michigan that have taken the progressive step to allow for cannabis businesses. I'm confident that the community here will benefit from this forward-thinking move in the near future. Like I said, Home of Medicine is in its 8th year of operation. When we opened our doors, our goal was to be the most compliant and transparent facility in the state. We also put an emphasis on community engagement. We're the first and only provisioning center to this day in the state of Michigan that employs a chief medical officer and a community outreach coordinator. Just to give you kind of, I was actually prepared to do a PowerPoint, and apparently that's not working, so I got to keep myself on track, so I'm trying to, but to give you kind of a list of the visitors that we've had through our facility in terms of our transparency and the emphasis that we put on bringing people in and becoming a part of the community. We've had our entire city council over the past 7 years, which has turned over quite a few times. But every single member of city council for the past 7 years has come and taken at least 45 minutes to sit down with my partner, myself, and our chief medical officer to discuss what it is we do there, why we do it, and how we do it. We've had dozens of state reps and senators through our facility, about 26 now. We've had both mayors. When we first opened, the first thing we did was invite the chief of police in to explain, to show him, what we were doing. Recently, we had the lieutenant and a few Main Street beat cops. We are on Main Street. I don't know if Rick mentioned that, but our facility is right downtown Ann Arbor, right on the main street, or the 2 main streets of the city center. Aside from that, there are a lot of different ways that we've tried to really incorporate with the community. One being a part of the Main Street Area Association. We were actually given a plaque on Main Street. The word cannabis is actually on a plaque on Main Street, which I think it might be the first and only Main Street in the country to have that word on there. But it's just a symbol of how we've been accepted by the community. Aside from that, though, there is a nonprofit called the Food Gatherers. They're one of the largest food drive nonprofits in the state. We've been working with them for the past 6.5 years, and over the past 6.5 years, we've donated about 175,000 pounds of food. Just last year, our goal was 50,000 pounds. We hit that, and this year we're on pace for about 60,000 pounds of food. Sorry. This is why a PowerPoint isn't sometimes necessary to keep you on track. We also do an annual coat drive. We sponsor a number of different organizations in the state, one being Open Heart Magic. There's a program at the Children's Hospital at the University of Michigan, Motts Children's Hospital, which basically brings in volunteer magicians to do magic for children at their bedside, and we've been sponsoring that organization for the past few years, as well as the Epilepsy Foundation. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the benefits that cannabis has for epileptic patients, especially children. We've put a lot of our dollars into supporting their annual I forget what it's called right now, the annual wellness conference that the Epilepsy Foundation of Michigan has each year. Aside from that, though, I think one of the most important things that we do that's very different than a lot of places, not only throughout the state but throughout the country, is we really have a focus on our patients. We have a focus on the one-on-one consultations that we have with them. Our model is a lot different than a lot of dispensaries. I had some really cool pictures to show you guys. You can check out our website to see, the kind of facility that we have. But one thing that's very different is that most dispensaries, provisioning centers are basically like a counter. What we do is we break it up into separate one-on-one consultation rooms. So patients that come in that are suffering from MS or epilepsy or going through chemo, they're not shoulder to shoulder with another patient. They're not in earshot of everybody else in the room. It's a one-on-one setting where they're in a private room. couple of other examples. You know, I had a whole list that would have been easier for you just to kind of see on a PowerPoint. But we've sponsored or actually hosted an Ann Arbor Film Festival screening. We sponsored the Ann Arbor Bike Share in its first year of existence. We've held educational seminars at the Ann Arbor Public Library. We actually have a published study on the front page of our website. You can find a published study in the Journal of Pain where we collaborated with the University of Michigan. This is also very unique, not just in Michigan, but in the entire country. We're the only dispensary to actually collaborate with a major university, publish a study in a major medical journal, and over the past 13 months since it was published, 14 months now, July of 2016, it is the #1 cited study from all of the studies in the Journal of Pain. That's including all of their studies, not just cannabis studies. The professionals that our model attracts is pretty unique. We serve doctors, lawyers, pro athletes, business owners, professors, a lot of university professors, and even politicians, believe it or not. Obviously, we take people's privacy very seriously. But basically, what I'd really like to impart on you folks is that this is an important move. This is a big move, and it's a big thing for any council to take up. I'm more than happy to invite you guys in. If you ever wanted to come and take a tour of our facility, I'm happy to leave you my card with my cell phone number, and you can call and ask any questions. But we're really looking forward to really revitalizing and becoming a part of this community if we have the opportunity. Thank you. Yes?
We have questions.
When I came to the meeting the other week, I was really impressed. Michigan is the only state that has, isn't it, Northern University in the UP?
That's right.
We have a PhD or what is the class?
It's a 4-year program where they combine business, horticulture, botany. It's basically a medical cannabis program.
And the state of Michigan is the first state with a university to actually do that program.
Yep.
So Michigan is really trying to be aggressive with this on the right side. That's what my point is.
Mm-hmm.
This is not what people have in their minds over the last 70 years at all. I thank you very much, sir, for coming down here.
Okay, Commissioner Dale?
Hi, I was also at that meeting, and I was impressed. I also went to your website. I was very impressed. I looked all around. I think you have a great explanation in your videos of a step-by-step process for each different type of category of illness and so on, and it has a great description of what you're saying, which we don't have the PowerPoint here, of the individual rooms, which are very well done and furnished. And it is right in the middle of Ann Arbor's downtown area. If anybody doubts that, you should go to the website, which I did, and searched around. It was well done, and thank you.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Pett.
There is a big movement to take recreational use on the ballot for next year. How would your business model change if that became, in fact, the law?
So there are 8 states right now that have voted in adult use cannabis. Michigan would be the first Midwest state, and that would be the 9th state if it does indeed pass in November. It's really going to depend on how the state's rules are written. For example, in Colorado, they have almost a dual-purpose building where if you're a medical patient, you go to the left. If you're over 21 and you're just using it recreationally, you go to the right, and they have it very separated. Other states will not allow for the same business to be both. So it really just is going to depend on how Michigan writes its rules. Once the rules are promulgated, it'll be a lot easier to answer that question. But, at this point, your guess is as good as mine.
I just got one more. So really, by doing what we've been doing for the last 8 months, it's very good on our part. Because
For sure.
If it went recreational without us doing anything, we would be up creek.
You're way ahead of the game, honestly, and Buchanan is, like I said, one out of I think 15 cities at this point that have passed or are about to pass an ordinance to allow for cannabis businesses. There are very few. December 15th is when the applications are due into the state. So my guess is, that may triple, maybe quadruple by then. But you're definitely have a leg up at this point.
Do you have an extra one of these so that maybe you can pass around to all the people here tonight so that since we don't have the power plant available, so they can understand what we're looking at?
You can take mine too.
Would that be okay? I mean,
Of course, yeah. This wasn't the PowerPoint I was going to use. This
No,
is-
but
No, that's
this
fine.
kind of shows what you're going to do if we allow this.
a concept that, if we're allowed to, we'd like to continue the conversation.
Yes. I have an idea, a thought pattern.
Okay, I have a question. First of all, you need to address us, not the public at this, just so you know. But what would you say to the people in this room that are very skeptical? Some of us were raised with the DARE program and just say no. And can you kind of explain to our citizens, how is this different than, what we like? How is it different than like what some people picture, like the Woodstock hippie movement? I think some people would just feel better hearing how this is radically different.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. I actually was also brought up I was brought up in the Nancy Reagan era, and it was just saying no. And when I told my mother what I was thinking about doing 9 years ago, I can address them now.
Yes,
You went,
you-
okay.
yes.
She blew her lid. She thought, like, oh my God, I've raised a delinquent, I've raised a drug dealer. And I was like, well, let's talk about this. And I think one of the things that really kind of helped her through the process was two things, really. Number one is the safety of the cannabis plant. I don't know if anybody's a pharmacist in the room, but there's a pharmacological term called LD50. LD50 is an average lethal dosage for a certain substance, any substance. If you drink too much water, you can die. If you go to Rite Aid and pretty much anything that they have there, and anything up and down the aisles, if you take too much of it, you will die. They haven't found an LD50 for cannabis. It's one of the safest substances known to man. That, coupled with the fact that the federal policy on cannabis truly is one of the most hypocritical policies you can ever imagine, and I'll explain why. They have it as a Schedule I drug. The federal government says it's a Schedule I drug, which says that it has no medicinal value and has a high risk of addiction. Those two things are false. Number one, there are 29 states that allow for medical cannabis. There are more than enough studies, both here and abroad, that show that it has medicinal value. I can tell you just from my own personal experience over the past 8 years, we've seen people's lives completely turn around because of this plant. Right now, the country is suffering from an opioid epidemic. Our study that I mentioned earlier, one of the things that study found was a 64% decrease in opioid use amongst the patients that participated in the study. When it comes to what the cannabis plant can do, as opposed to what the risks are, we've been, to use the term that Sanjay Gupta said. Sanjay Gupta, if anybody's unaware, is one of the top doctors in the country. He was tapped to be the Surgeon General a few years ago and declined it. To use Sanjay Gupta's words, we've been systematically duped as a nation by our own government in terms of the efficacy and the safety of this plant. So I think that that's the best way I can answer it, is in terms of, I know that there's a lot of fears out there, myself included. When I was growing up, I never touched any drug because I trusted and believed Nancy Reagan. I thought she was, and she was right for the most part. But with this particular plant, it's been really misunderstood. And over these past 9 years in the state of Michigan, we are the second largest patient population in the country. We have more patients in the state of Michigan than any other state outside of California. And it has drastically improved the lives of thousands, tens of thousands of people. So I would say that if there's any fear on the cannabis plant specifically, I think the biggest fear that should be a fear is keeping it out of children's hands. That's the most important. And that's what a regulated system does. You know, there's never been a minor, there's never been anybody without a cannabis card that's ever come through our doors. And that's because it's regulated. That's because, you know, there is a system in place that the people that need it are the ones that get access to it.
Thank you.
Did
Any
that answer your
other-
question?
Yes. Carla has a question.
Sure.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had a medical officer. Is this person within the building every day throughout the open hours? And is this medical officer a doctor, a nurse, an aide? And what are their qualifications to be such a person?
He is a medical doctor, and he does not certify or get patients' cards. That's not his role. He's more of a just a resource for patients. He's not there every single day. He's 40 hours a week. We're open 7 days a week. We wouldn't do that to him, but patients are able to make appointments with him, and you know he's there pretty much 5 days a week. His background is in research. He researched pharmaceutical blood thinners for years.
So he's an MD?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yeah, Carla, I met him at that meeting.
Oh, did
I
you?
I have his cards, and I thought I had the card on me. I was going to give you one, but I didn't meet him.
Okay.
And you would be open to citizens reaching out to you with questions?
Absolutely.
Possible. Okay, great.
Anytime.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, you can be seated. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right. And with that, we're going to move on to roll call. Gladys?
Hess,
Yes?
Moore. Here. Turney,
Here.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. Here. You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you, Gladys. And we're to the section 4, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Before I call the first person up, I would like to go over some of the sections from our rules of procedures. You can find this on the city's website. The City Commission requests that if a citizen has a question or concern, to bring it to the attention of the appropriate department whenever possible. If you feel that the matter has not been resolved satisfactorily, or you are encouraged to bring it to the attention of the city manager, and if still not resolved satisfactorily, to the mayor and the commission. So in other words, if you have a pothole in front of your house, just in the business of keeping meetings going, Chief Marks has put his cards over there, and he's asked that you contact him directly about that. We're just trying to clarify some of our rules. I'm a newer mayor. I've only been your mayor since November, and I'm still learning too. So I'm trying to address things that come up. And last meeting, we had some people that just started kind of shouting out some concerns. I mean, they were being very respectful, but that's not the purpose of this meeting this evening. So there are appropriate channels to take your concerns through. And with that being said, citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any item on our agenda. You can approach the microphone, and the rule is that you need to state your name as well as your address. Anyone this evening?
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. I have 3 questions. Consent calendar D, was this discussed during a budget workshop?
Yeah, I can answer that, yes.
It was?
Uh-huh.
And 7A, why? I would like a copy of this to look at it. Why? Network, what are we doing?
Okay.
B, explain clearly so we, the public, understand.
And we're going to do all of those things this evening. Thank you, Norma. Anyone else? Please don't be shy. We don't bite. We promise. All right. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close public comments. And we're going to move on to item number 5, and we're going to discuss, or we're going to approve the consent calendar. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Okay.
Support.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Bianski,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Gladys. And we're going to move on to item 6. Tonight, we're going to hear reports by departments, committees, and boards. And representing Have Fun at Buchanan Parks, we have Brittany McBain. Brittany. Oh, okay. Oops, sorry. Same person, lots of hats.
Hi, everyone. I'm here for Make a Difference Day. It's coming up October 21st, and we're just a committee that gets together for one day from 9 to noon to volunteer doing any projects needed around our community to make a difference in 3 hours. So this year, we've talked to a bunch of places about possible projects, and we have a couple of them. Ram Love, every year, we go down there, we clean the shelves, and this year they asked that we resurface their parking lot. Hanging up the Christmas lights downtown at the Commons, we do that with them. Cleaning out our parks, we're talking about doing Ravish Park and Catherine Park, cleaning up our community garden. Our newest, North End Park with Evan Powell and Miss Hess. And I have t-shirts this year that we're going to be selling to help us make a difference because some of our projects require money to fund them. So I designed a project or a t-shirt that involves a lot of our projects here in town, such as Scarecrows, the Art Center, the Duck Pond, the Mill. It's all here on the shirt. If you guys want to take a look, I've got order forms, and those are due on Thursday. But we're here to invite you to come down and make a difference with us on October 21st, and I have flyers if anybody wants to have one.
Okay, any questions from the commission?
If someone wants to purchase them, can they leave it the check or cash at City Hall?
You can. I will come down and pick it up.
Okay.
Okay? I left you a form on your desk there.
What's that?
You have a form there on your
Yes,
desk.
I'm looking at it right now.
All right.
Anybody else? Thank you, Brittany, so much. And Brittany does a lot of nice things for the city of Buchanan. Thank you. All righty, moving on to unfinished business, item number 7. We're on item A. Consider allowing the city manager to seek media director services from the Michigan Marketing Network and Evan Powell in amount of $7,200 and approve a budget amendment for media enhancements to cover this cost and create a $2,800 communication budget line to support this media outreach project for the next 6 months. Before we hear from Evan, I think we're going to hear from City Manager Marks.
Mayor, Commissioners, again, we've had this discussion for quite a while. We've heard commentary by the public on the need, desire for us to improve our public outreach to the community. Norma brings up the fact that communication is pretty important, and we do have opportunities to really enhance that. Channel 17, everybody knows we're pretty underutilized with that resource. And, you know, the push to get a presence on YouTube has been pretty important for us. We've really been able to get a glimpse at that potential there. So with that, again, and also working with Evan recently on some other projects, the opportunities to enhance those media outreach benefits were pretty clear. So what I'm asking the commission to do is to help us, the staff, who cannot achieve all of the outreach that we need to do using all these medias, and allow us to work with Evan and Michigan Marketing Network to help direct some of those efforts. I think the community will immediately see really a positive response by better communication, and you know, Evan and this effort will produce basically a conduit to a lot of things and frustrations that people have with trying to get the word out on issues. We've had some great projects that I think the community will enjoy. Again, we put effort into this year with having a successful summer thrill. We followed that up directly after with a week-long presence at the Berrien County Youth Fair. That indicated and also told us that those kind of outreach programs are highly beneficial. We gained a lot of commentary from residents who went to the fair. They were proud to see Buchanan displayed. They actually learned, when we get comments back from our own residents saying, I didn't know we did all that. It definitely, we have a gap between getting the word out. So this effort, I think, will present a great opportunity, and again, as I said, a conduit to a lot of ideas that come from all the different groups in the community to be able to present their information to all of us. So we better understand what we're doing here, what the community's doing. We have a little void in the fact that the record was not and is not publishing, the local interest type of articles. They've been very successful with legal postings right now, so they're very present in the community. And I do want to recognize that they're 150 years old. That's and there's one of the possible projects that we need to present, that we've got a business that is 150 years old in our community, and how do we get that word out? I think there's a project right there. I really believe there's going to be a lot of benefit here, and you'll see that pretty directly. So what I'm asking is for approval to move this project along, give me the responsibility and ability to move this project along, work with Michigan Marketing to help and get them to help direct those media outreach opportunities. So.
Okay, questions? Yes. Go ahead, Carla.
I just want to say I think it's a great idea. Seeing as we don't have a newspaper to get out our information, and there's so much misinformation out there, and it's really rampant at times, and I think this would really stop some of that misinformation so we can get that actual info out so that people know what's really going on.
Yes.
Maybe the public doesn't know, but we've had a pilot project going on. So there were some things Evan's been tasked to help with some improved media content for some of the businesses in town. And he's also been kind enough to work with the city on several of the other events going on. I'm on the Common Committee, so he would come down every Thursday night and actually tape the concerts, and then they'd almost immediately be on some kind of social media project. And then I was gone the one weekend where there was Faith and Family Day, and if you actually looked at his video, I was sorry I wasn't here, because, he haven't had the close-ups of the popcorn from Red Bud Insurance popping up out of it was very artistic. He's not just taking a photograph that anyone could take. This is a very talented person. So, and also, the last time he was at this meeting, he was the one to get the PowerPoint working. So if that doesn't tell you we need to have this kind of help, that would have solved a lot of issues even tonight, so.
Well, and personally, I know a lot of people don't subscribe to Comcast anymore, and Channel 17 cannot always be accessed by community people. Most people now are using their computers, and Evan is a master at YouTube, so commission meetings and everything right now, commission meetings are actually being uploaded now, but he's going to put whatever he makes for Channel 17 onto YouTube too. So if you have sons and daughters that have moved out of the community, or you have, a brother or sister, or you're away on vacation, you can still keep in touch with what's happening in Buchanan. And Gladys has done a very stellar job at keeping Channel 17 going all this time. And she does a great job, but Channel 17 isn't very accessible to people. And if you're like me, I don't read fast enough for some of those longer slides, and I have to stand there and wait through a whole nother city commission where you hear yourself talking and then, finish up reading what comes, because that's just the format. And he's got some really great ideas too. So, Commissioner Dan, did you have any questions, or Dale?
No,
Okay, all right.
I know Evan.
Guess I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
that
I'll
we
give, go ahead.
approve.
okay, all right. And
I'll give her, Pat, Commissioner Moore, support.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And Gladys, roll call, please.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes,
Moore,
Yes.
Tarney.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
thank you. And I just think this is a great opportunity for us to get the word out about Buchanan. Thank you, everyone. All right, we are on unfinished item B. We're going to review and discuss Draft 5 with proposed changes for an ordinance amending the City of Buchanan zoning ordinance. Bill, did you want to go ahead and kind of give us an overview of that, please?
Actually, Deb's here. She
Okay,
worked
Deb.
on it pretty long in my absent last week, so, in my little bit of recovery, so let her take it.
Okay, I believe in your briefing, I did, can everybody hear me? In the briefing, I wrote up a summary of the changes. In your packet, you may have had a copy of the draft that was missing one change. So I would like to go through the proposed changes, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have that I can answer. I was made aware tonight that we do have a typo in the very first paragraph, be it ordained is misspelled. I don't know why it didn't come up on spell check, but I will correct that. Moving forward, the first change that has been proposed is at the top of page 3 of your ordinance, and that is to allow provisioning centers as a special use in the C3 district. Okay. The second change that has been made is on, well, the rest of the changes that have been proposed are on page 4, section 1810. The first one is in number B, that talks about no medical marijuana grower, processor, provisioning center, safety compliance facility, or secure transporter shall be located within 500 feet of real property comprising a church or public park with activities designed specifically for youth. The change that has been proposed for item B is to eliminate the language or public park with activities designed specifically for youth. The rest of that section would remain as proposed, which would have that 500 feet separation between medical marijuana facilities and a church. The second change on that page is in item C, where it says, in consideration of granting a special use permit, the setback from residential uses shall be evaluated as it relates to surrounding areas. The language change there is that the word uses has been eliminated and replaced with the word districts, so that when the Planning Commission considers special use permits, they would consider the setback from residential districts. Pat, in terms of your question as what are they going to consider, I was not at the September 12th meeting, so I can't answer that question. There are members of the Planning Commission at the meeting in the audience, however. Okay. The second and the next two changes that are proposed are to eliminate sections E and F, which currently those sections would require an applicant for a medical marijuana facility to have their application with the state and the local government in process or approved. It's sort of been a question, well, it has been a question ever since we got into the issue as sort of who's on first and what should happen first, because the law doesn't state the order of go, if you will, nor have the rules so far addressed them from Lara. And in response to this, I did contact the Bureau of Medical Marijuana Facilities that has been created and is making rules, and I was told by Leanne, who works there, that in order for applications from Buchanan to be considered favorably, she urged us to do everything that we can possibly to make sure that they have all the local permits that they would need, which would mean that they would need to have a special use permit approved, and they would have to have their application approved. And to get those finished as quickly as we can so that when the state starts accepting the applications on December 15th, they would be at the top of the stack because they have everything that they need. So those two sections, I should say, have been stricken through, so that would mean with their removal that people who want to apply for those facilities would still need to go to the Planning Commission for their special use permit and go through that process, but that they could do it before December 15th.
And just so the people in the audience and whoever's watching us online know that Lara is the Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Agency. Okay. And they're, in case you don't know, those are the people making the rules regarding medical marijuana use in the state of Michigan. So if you search for Lara, L-A-R-A, you'll get more information about what they're doing. They have made changes, and that's why we're removing these two paragraphs, because of changes they made. We're just following what their changes have been. Okay. Commissioners? Anybody have any questions? Okay. Bill, did you want to make any comments?
No, I think, again, recognizing, Deborah, there was a lot of information that was flowing in about this. The changes were presented as received for your review and consideration. So, again, this will be an opportunity for the commission to discuss any of those changes that have been presented.
Okay, and in accordance with the discussion earlier today with our city attorney, I need a commissioner to introduce this so we can have a discussion. We are not introducing a vote on this. We are introducing it so we can discuss it as a commission.
Thank you.
Okay.
But my question is, can we pass this ordinance tonight?
No.
So all along, I've been asking this for months, and I still get an answer at the 11th hour, and it's no. So now we got to wait another month.
No, we don't have to wait another month. That's why we left the public comment open, so we can do it at the next meeting.
I believe, Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead, Gladys. Gladys can
I
explain
believe an
it.
email went out last Friday explaining the changes and explaining the process. We have to do due diligence on letting the public know exactly what we're doing. We are the government. This will allow 2 weeks for it to be available, for anybody to review, to see what the changes are for 2 weeks. We continued the public hearing this evening to the 23rd. There will be discussion on the change, the draft 5 with proposed changes. Everybody has seen, they've came in and got copies. It's been on the website. The commissioners all had copies of draft 5. This is draft 5 that was supported by the Plan Commission and recommended to the City Commission for adoption. Now, the City Commission has made changes, or is proposing to make changes.
And Laura.
And so that's what the public hearing will be on the 23rd, and we anticipate putting it on the agenda for consideration, either approval or disapproval.
In 2 weeks.
On the 23rd, at the 23rd public meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And this information will be updated, what did we decide? tomorrow on the website. If you would like to print out a copy of this, because if you're like me, just reading it on the computer, I like to mark it up and make notes to myself. It's available right from the City of Buchanan website. Okay?
Okay, I'll make the motion that we converse, discuss, decide if this is what we want to do.
Okay? I'll support. Okay, roll call, please. It was Carla.
Okay, thank you. Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, who would like to offer their opinion or ask questions? Because this is our time to talk about this and raise any questions that we as a group have.
I just want to make a comment.
Go right
pretty
ahead.
much. We've worked on this pretty hard, and I just wanted the comment I want to make is actually annual deaths. And it's only going to take me about 10 seconds, but 435,000 people die from tobacco. 360, this is per year. 365,000 die because they don't exercise or they don't eat properly. 85,000 people die from alcohol. 32,000 people die from doctors prescribed drugs. 26,347 people die from motor vehicle accidents. This is published in January of this year. Aspirin, 7,600 people. Peanuts, allergies to peanuts, 100. Marijuana, zero. And I do that to make a point on what we've been preached since 1934. This is propaganda. This is the big money, making money by Schedule I drug. This is what DuPont did. This is what Mr. Hearst did. And it's very easy to access. It's very easy to read about. This has taken some of the power away from the federal government, giving it back to the states. The governor, Mr. Schneider, did a very good job of rewriting this law. When it was originally written, it was not written very well at all. Mr. Schneider did a very good job of restricting this. It is a good thing, people. It really is a good thing. That's my only comment on it.
Okay. Anybody else have questions or comments about anything specific in the zoning ordinance? Nope. I would like to make it clear to people that this does not mean that anyone can just come into Buchanan and set up a shop. They have to apply. They have to apply for a special use permit. It's taken very seriously. I know people have concerns, and I understand those concerns, but we spent a lot of time in February and March taking public comment from people, and people within the city limits are tax-paying citizens from the city of Buchanan. There was a large number of people that are requesting we do this because right now a lot of them are traveling great distances with large sums of money, and they are struggling. If you're at the end stage of cancer, or you have anxiety and you have to drive to another town that has a currently operating dispensary, that's not good for those patients. And we heard from veterans, and we heard from young people that have cared for parents who are dying of cancer. We heard from a large variety of people. And so we, in a vote of 4-1, voted that we would like to proceed with having medical marijuana facilities in our community. However, that does not mean that it's going to be a free-for-all, and certainly not dangerous to the community. And we are doing very hard work. I can promise you that. We are doing very hard work to make sure that this is implemented in a way that will not negatively affect the lives of the people in this community. And we are looking forward to hearing from you at the public comment at our next meeting. We just feel like we need the time. You need to download it. You need to check it out. And then come next Monday, you may come and we'll hear more from you. Is there anybody else? Anything specifically? Yes, Commissioner Dale?
I'd like to thank Commissioner Vinansky, because I had brought this up back in February with all this stuff, and that's why I'm not saying too much, because I've done a lot of studying, and I've been to a lot of meetings, been to a lot of stores, talked to a lot of people. What he basically said is back what I said, Dan, if you remember, in February, and it went on deaf ears. So thank you for bringing it up again, because that is really the truth. 0 people have died from marijuana. There are a lot of people that are in need of this particular drug that'll help them. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Cole, I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to
No comment.
ask questions or comments. Okay, great. All right. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the next item. New business, item number 8. We're going to review and discuss the Winter Thrill on the Hill, and Commissioner Dan has asked that we discuss this evening. Commissioner Dan?
I just want to stop it. I've been asking since I've become a commissioner 3 years ago for an accounting. I've talked to Bill extensively about it. The weather doesn't cooperate very much. It's very, very expensive to do. We hit all cylinders when we started the summer Thrill on the Hill. The weather stiffed us again this year, even on the summer thrill. But I think it's time. We've got way too much going on. This is not really something for politicians to be doing. This is something that we should be doing to help. And this is 3 years of me fighting this to where I finally put it on, and I wanted to bring it up publicly to just stop the winter thrill so that the time, the energy, and the hours can be devoted to something else. More the summer thrill, probably. We've got the snowmaker. There's just a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money that the city of Buchanan at this point in time does not have and should have never started doing. I'm sorry. And I know Bill was really excited about it, so I know this is a real soft underbelly thing, but I have no choice in asking to stop the winter thrill.
Okay, Commissioner Moore?
When then Mayor Cole and City Manager Marks came back from a meeting, they basically learned about it from a Michigan Municipal League presentation from another city. So with the thinking of this will bring visitors to the town, and we all heard the planning, we all understand that this most likely will be a 10-year project. That's what the projections were from the very beginning. So now we knew there would be investment at the beginning with the ultimate idea that we're raising money for help for our parks specifically, which are, we need desperately playground equipment, we need maintenance issues taken care of. It is a critical need for the quality of life here. So this is a way that we can have a wonderful function, have a lot of visitors. We attract people. We've had people from Texas that visited. We had people from all over that have come to this. True, last year it was too mild to have it because we needed to have a certain temperature to even make the snow. But that is a degree of commitment that this commission has exhibited, that when one winter was very mild, the people at the restaurants were asking, okay, are you really going to have it or not? So we said, well, we've got to do something to try to ensure as much as we can to minimize the effect of the weather, and that's why we purchased the snowmaker. All the investment in this 10-year project is up front. So now we've met our expenses. This coming thrill should be the first one or half of one, second one, where we are going to be in the black. It's guaranteed in the black, because we've already paid for the tubes. We've already paid for these other things. We've got community support behind it. It brings visitors into a town in a time period where there's not much else going on and as far as recreational activities here in town. So now, just when we're able to capture the positive revenues, we're being asked to stop, and that's not logical. So we can wait 10 years and see how it flies, and maybe there won't be the same interest, or maybe someone will want to try something different. When you try to have concerts or functions outside, it is variable. The Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington can either hit a couple weeks early or that doesn't mean they stop it because it misses a year or two. So, we understand the variables of it. We've been getting the benefit of it in the summer, and we've gotten a lot of benefit from the winter. So I am totally against stopping something that has been successful. To see adults fight over getting dressed up like penguins, okay, that takes people are invested in this project, people. So, we want to encourage this and have a fun event for everybody.
Okay, Commissioner Dale?
I have to agree with Commissioner Moore. We're in the black. This is probably the time now we're going to get money for our Parks and Recreation. My wife was on Parks and Recreation for many years when their budget was $600. Okay? That's what they had to do for the year. When they wanted to get a new water fountain, that took two years to get the money to get the new water fountain. We have no money for our Parks and Recreation. So our city manager came up with this idea, which, he's coming up with two. And I think it's really helped out, and we're into the black. And again, I agree with Commissioner Moore. It's a 10-year project, and I think we're on seven. And, I think we need to give it the benefit of the doubt, at least for the 10-year period, and see where we're at and see what happens. I guess on one hand, it's probably good it was canceled. That means our winters weren't too bad. But on the other hand, if we have a bad winter, it does give the remaining population that's here, because a lot of people leave, but not the kids. And that the Kids Hill was really popular, and the other hill too. And so I think we should give it the time to at least a 10-year period. And we are in the black. Not everything's paid for. Thank you.
I just want to say, when Bill and I came across this, actually, I came across it, and I'm going, where the heck is Bill? I can't find him. We're in this huge building, and he's out browsing around. And finally got a hold of him, took him over there, and we discussed it. We thought about how it involves the whole family, not just the kids. And I'm not sure who had more fun, the kids or the adults. They all had a blast. It didn't matter if there was snow or slush. They all wanted to go down that hill. And the smiles on the faces of the little kids was worth every penny, every minute of labor of volunteers. Lots and lots of volunteers who helped make us pull that off. And to disappoint the volunteers who love it, they want it, the kids and parents and grandmas. I went down the hill. To cancel it, no. It's a great opportunity for us to get our parks fixed up, get them organized, get them, with good equipment. As Dale said, the equipment for these parks are so expensive. You cannot believe. I mean, for fountains, you're talking thousands of dollars for a water fountain for the kids. And if you're really good, you have one on the bottom of that fountain for the doggies that come along with the kids. To quit now, no. I cannot imagine quitting. The weather is what it is. We're in Michigan. We take the good with the bad, and I'm sorry, Dan, but I just don't agree with you. Okay?
Your Honor, I just have one other comment. Because my wife was on the Parks and Recreation, she tried to get grants and all that. Catherine Park, she was trying to get all new outdoor equipment. I think Commissioner Moore knows about that too. I think it was about $120,000.
Yeah, our school goes through that.
We
too.
don't have $120,000.
All right. Anybody else? Commissioner Dan? Did you
Oh,
have-
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
When you don't have to pay for labor, of course you can call it a profit. If we would have budgeted $7,500 for the parks every year since we started the Thrill on the Hill, we'd have been way financially ahead on the parks. The thing about it is when you don't pay for the labor, you can say you made a bunch of money. No business operating. But my argument's always been, if you're advertising the city, it's a good thing. But when you're not getting a bang for a buck, you have to back off. Everybody can sit up here and say, it's extremely, extremely expensive. It took me 3 years to just get the breakdown for the accountability on the numbers. $21,000 for the labor this summer on the Summer Thrill on the Hill. It's going to be disputed. It's going to be argued with. I am not a curmudgeon. I didn't ask to have the Thrill on the Hill stopped because I'm a nasty Grinch. That was a polite word. The Summer Thrill is a success. I congratulated Bill on the Summer Thrill because he pulled it off. The winter should have really been looked at hard. $15,000 for a snowblower, snowmaker. Sorry, folks, the front end loader. We do not count any of the labor in this. So if we would have just took $7,500, all the labor that we are volunteers, they're not volunteers, they're our city employees that are doing this, they would have been doing other things, like keeping the corners of the road shoveled off where they fill them full of snow in the wintertime, or keeping our gutters cleaned out, or maybe not working overtime. So, I mean, the fact that all of you is kind of just, because it's Bill's idea, I'm sorry. It's not a good idea, and I wouldn't have brought it up if it would have been even a break even or close to break even, but it's not even close. The Summer Thrill is not even close. You know, and as far as putting money into the parks, it's because the old commission didn't allocate any money for the parks. All they would have had to done was budget $2,000 or $3,000 for the parks, and they would have had money in the parks. We had 2 opportunities for playground equipment, and we blew them both. So, I mean, it hurts my feelings. It makes me very hostile, but you're going to do what you want to do. I just wanted to bring it up and make a point. You're going to continue with your Winter Thrill, but if it does, I want Barb to have a lot more control, and as long as I'm on Barb, I want Commissioner to step down as chairman of Barb. I want somebody other than commissioners as chairman of the committees. So that's it. It's out there.
Why don't you put that on the next agenda? Are you going to make a motion that we
No, I don't
disband?
think it needs to be. I think she can just step down.
No,
I think we don't need a law for
I
it.
think we need to move that part, because we're dealing with 2 things now. Do you want to make a motion to disband the Winter Thrill on the Hill, or do we?
Well, I'll
wanna-
make the motion. I know where it's going to go. I'll make the motion to disband and stop the Winter Thrill on the Hill.
Okay, I need a second. Okay, and with there being no second, we will move on to the next agenda item. We're up to public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. And please don't forget, you need to make sure you say your name and your address. Okay, and with that, since there's being no takers this evening, we'll move on to the city manager's comments. And welcome back, everybody. I don't know if you know, Bill has been out for a week. He had gallbladder surgery, so we're glad that he's back and with us tonight.
A little bit of a recovery. They stopped counting after 30 stones from the gallbladder. Not that everybody, might be too much information. Anyway, that was, yeah, it was time to separate myself. But again, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Again, I a couple of comments. There was a question brought up about a $14,000 check for vehicle maintenance, repairs, and I think I passed out the request. Here's the other part of that, 14,000. Those repairs were done to two different vehicles, and these are snow plowing large trucks. One was a 2008 International dump truck that had the seasonal repairs of, again, this is the 2008 vehicle, and it needs maintenance often, but that was $2,700 amount for those repairs, and you see the breakdown on that. It needed fuel filters, and again, talking diesel, some general maintenance stuff with wiper blades, antifreeze, radiator flush. We also had some tires put on that vehicle. And then the second vehicle, which is our 2001 International dump truck, also used for snow plowing. We had the front end actually separated. The steering mechanism on the large truck separated. We had to get that repaired, so it almost became an emergency to get that work done. While it was in the shop, we had other work done. As you can see, it also received 4 new tires that it definitely needed. They had to replace the whole muffler system because it was failing. There was fumes getting into the cab of the truck because of the age of the truck. They had to rebuild the whole front end, which is not a cheap task in itself. So between these two upgrades, 2 different vehicles, we spent about $14,000 to best one tire. So there's the background explanation on that. We are, if you look at the dates or the ages of these vehicles, a dump truck 2001 vintage and a 2008. We do try to keep them rolling, and some years our maintenance costs are greater than others, but when you look at a $150,000 replacement on a new dump truck, it helps put this this amount into some perspective. So, very good. Let's see. Also, I guess I'll touch a little bit on the thrill. Again, Commissioner Vigansky is correct. The effort that goes into the thrill is significant, and but I also weigh that against the outcome and the positives that event creates. And when you can pull in, okay, it's an estimate, but 5,000 people the last weekend in January in Michigan into a community, there's some benefit there. Trying to put a number on the positive advertising that goes on that we generally don't pay for just because of the interest in our event. We get a lot of valuable press time by all the networks locally, both printed media as well as television out of South Bend. We get a lot of good press out of Pure Michigan ads. And as we heard even at the fair, we have a little bit of recognition, not just for Lowry's Meat Market anymore, but we're that community that puts on the thrill. We're that community that has the Promise program. So we're getting a lot of, I think, positive good. And And to try to put a number on that, that valuable good feeling or goodwill exposure that these two events, both summer and winter, provide, you know, use the term priceless. So, again, yeah, I understand it is an effort. It is costly to a degree of our effort, and again, I do realize that there's areas where we could tighten that belt, and because of Dan's inquiry, you know, I learned a little bit about the process and where we could tighten our belt on these events. Again, the events are down to the point where we have a checklist. Staff has been doing it long enough that it flows pretty well. The only variable in this is Mother Nature, and, you know, she threw a good one at us last year, and we had to cancel the winter thrill. Summer thrill is very successful. Takes a lot of effort, but I still believe that the bottom line, the outcome is still very much on the positive. And I thank you for the support, and Commissioner Vigansky for bringing up some of these challenges. It's valuable to have that review. So, again, I want to take a minute to introduce Evan Powell. And Evan, you want to step to the mic and maybe comment a little bit about some of the ideas you have?
Hello, I'm Evan Powell. For those who haven't met me, many of you probably have seen me running around with a video camera around the community. I've worked on several projects, as the commissioner stated, for the city, and we've gotten some really good feedback with the video that we've captured and with the concepts that we've proposed for Channel 17 and YouTube. What we'd like to create is a seamless communication program between the city and the citizens of Buchanan. We also want to network the city communications program with some business district projects to promote the local businesses downtown and to get them some marketing and some media exposure and get them kind of involved in some of the community groups and the community committees, and just kind of bring a little bit of cohesive effort into promoting Buchanan and why life is better here. I hear everyone talk about how life is better here, and I come from South Bend, and I certainly don't want to hurt Commissioner Dan's feelings, and I don't want him to feel volatile toward me.
He's
Commissioner
good. It's
Dan
okay.
and I, we got off on the right foot, and I feel fortunate and happy, and thank you for your vote and confidence in me. But I have to also express the fact that, you know, sometimes one thing that Mr. Marks and I speak about all the time is the fact that some of these efforts are not revenue generators. They're more to create exposure for Buchanan and to let people know that Buchanan is here. Mayor Hess said it on the Our Town series, that it's easy to drive through Buchanan, but if you don't stop your car and get out, you're gonna miss a lot. There is a lot to do in Buchanan. You know, I consider Buchanan, honestly, as an entertainment destination. You know, Grand Rapids is an art destination. St. Joe is a lake destination, a recreational destination. I feel like this is an opportunity for Buchanan to continue giving people reasons to come here. And while I appreciate Commissioner Dan's concerns about the finances, and obviously we have to take that into concern, but I feel like once we launch this media program and we're able to get additional media and marketing out there, I'll be honest with you, Commissioner Dan, I came to Buchanan about 6 months ago, got heavily involved with the community, but when I came here, I mean, my full knowledge about Buchanan, honestly, was the exposure about Three on the Hill. That's what I knew about Buchanan. Even over the Promise program. When I came to Buchanan, I started talking to people. Immediately, I started hearing about the Promise program, about the BARB, Have Fun at Buchanan Parks, and all these committees. And, you know, people deserve to know what's going on in this community, whether they're in this community or whether they're in the state of Michigan, whether they're in South Bend, in Indiana, in Illinois, whether they're in Florida. And so my involvement with this program is hopefully to create a connection with everyone to Buchanan, wherever they are, anytime, and to kind of highlight what actually is better about life in Buchanan. So I appreciate everyone's support and giving me this opportunity. I'm available and happy to talk to anyone at any time. If you have any ideas or thoughts or concerns or issues, Mr. Marks, he can probably answer most of them, and he can lead you to me if we can't get the answers, we'll figure it out. But thank you again. And I'd like to introduce my wife as well. This is Pam Powell. So be sure you introduce yourself to her, and thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you on board. Did you have anything else, Bill?
No, I think Evan will be a good conduit to a lot of ideas that the community has. Again, like anything, we are full of ideas, but we need to put legs under some of those, and I think Evan can do that for us. So I'm very pleased to get this thing rolling.
Okay, great.
But outside of that, we're good.
And remember, Bill has his card right over there if you came about a smaller issue. Please feel free. And also, my email address is available to you on the city website. And with that, we're going to move on to commissioners' comments. We're going to start down here with Commissioner Dale because he needs to get to work.
No, Mom, actually, we're doing pretty
doing
good.
good?
We're
Okay.
doing very good. At this time, I really have nothing to say other than I think Buchanan is on the right track.
Great. All right, Commissioner Carla?
Okay, I guess I'll bring up the thrill one more time. I want to say that not last winter, but the winter before, we had a couple here visiting from out of state, fell in love with Buchanan. They loved the thrill. They bought property in Buchanan. They're involved in the city of Buchanan. That's what happened with that one couple that one year, is they bought, now they're paying taxes, okay? The other thing I want to bring up is the landfill is having a recycle day on October 14th from 9 to 12. They can recycle household chemicals, home medical waste, electronics, and you can get your personal documents shredded on that same day. The chemicals and liquids will be recycled and disposed of properly to prevent poisoning and protect environmental health. Accepted items include home, garden, garage, and workshop liquids and chemicals, as well as batteries of all sizes, fluorescent light bulbs, mercury items, and home medical waste such as pills, liquids, aerosols, and sharps. This is open to the residents of Berrien County, not just our area here, but the whole Berrien County. And they do accept donations to help defray the cost. Green Earth Electronics Recycling will be on site to collect electronic waste, such as computers, televisions, printers, large and small appliances, and anything with a cord or that is battery operated. There is a fee of $10 per computer monitor, $20 for a TV. And then again, they're shredding. But if you are shredding, make sure you take the notebook and the 3-ring metal pieces in those notebooks. Those got to be taken out. I'm sure it would raise havoc on the machine if that metal went through there. You know, you could see it shaking and rattling. So Large binder clips cannot go through that, heavy plastics. So make sure all that is taken out of that. Latex paint has to be dried out, and the lid needs to be off of it. Gas grill propane tanks and ammunition are not accepted. Now, the latex, what my husband and I did is we painted it on cardboard and anything else we could get a hold of and set it out and let it dry. Then it could go in. So keep that in mind as well. And I think I pretty well covered all the items on that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Dan?
The mayor told me to be very nice to you a month ago. I got specific orders to be nice to you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
And really, I'm a really nice guy. I'm a fuzzy teddy bear. I really am. I just ask questions that nobody else wants to ask. I want to thank the zoning members that come down. Appreciate it very much. I see you back there. I hope this works out. I mean, the word hope is not even the right word. I know this is going to work out as far as the marijuana. I know everybody has a lot of anxiety. I've lost a lot of sleep over it, believe me. I really have. I've been following this for 45 years. This came up when I was on student council back.
Wow.
They were talking about the legalization of marijuana. I said there was no way, chance, ever. You know, now I'm sitting on a commission where I've actually passed it. It is legal in Buchanan right now. We are just working out the bugs, and it'll be a continuous workout ongoing until the federal government decides that there's enough money in it for them to get into it. There are 29 states that have it legalized in one way or another. I think this is going to be as good for Buchanan as anything. It's going to get us recognition, and I think it's going to get us good recognition. Thank you for the barb and the things, you know, thank you for all of you that showed up. I mean, when I see a full room like this, I always wonder how much I'm going to get yelled at, and I didn't tonight. And when I started 3 years ago, Paula's sitting back there, Norma rather, is sitting back there in the back, and she was the only one that showed up time after time, and then Alan would show up occasionally, and now we got a room full of people. I think it's great. You're participating in your government, and it's not up to me or any of us, it's up to you guys, and this is what you gotta pass around. It's not up to us. We are just a voice, and you gotta let us know what you like or what you don't like. And with that, I'll end them.
Okay. Commissioner Pat?
Well, I just want to say welcome back, Bill. The place runs smoothly anyway, but it's always nicer when you're back here. So we appreciate you. I wanted to report on a couple of my assigned committees. The Friends of Oak Ridge Cemetery is working with Evan on an oral history project. So I'm hoping that will be one of the content enhancements that you may be seeing in a future YouTube or other situations. So, that's an exciting thing that we're in the process of. The Tin Shop Theater is having a fundraising square dance Saturday night. There are posters around town about that. And there's a telephone number. If you know you're going to go, please call the number so we can plan to have enough food. There will be a square dance color, so it's a legit thing. It's not all acting with this group, so it's $10 for a single person and $15 for a couple, and the food will be available for purchasing. So, and that's all I have.
Okay, great. And for my comment, oh, yes.
Can I make one other comment?
Yeah.
I do have your brochure. If anybody up here wants to take a quick piece of it, this was at the meeting that I was with these gentlemen. This is my copy, but if you, after the meeting, you can come up and take a quick look at it if you'd like. Okay? So you'll see some pictures of their store that's up in Ann Arbor. That's all I wanted to interject.
Great. I went to the McCoy's Creek 5K fun run, which is an oxymoron because, running is not fun. But I came in dead last with my friend and her son who can't run, so we had a very good time. And I want to thank all the volunteers. That's the only fundraiser for that trail. And they only charge $15 and you get a t-shirt. It was a really nice event. So I wanted to thank everyone for either volunteering, helping them get it set up, or if you were a runner or walker, thank you so much. That trail is fabulous, and I hadn't been on it in a while. And the amount of new equipment for exercising, and what I like is you come up to this little structure and there's a sign, and if you're in an advanced level of fitness, there's suggestions for you, but if you're someone like me who's kind of out of shape and just barely hanging in there, they have, all the things are modified. So whereas you might be doing pull-ups, I might be doing jumping jacks. It's very highly customizable. I suggest everybody go and check it out, especially this time of year. The trail's just beautiful, and you can kick the walnuts out of the way as you walk. But I did have a problem. I was talking with someone, and it really kind of offended me. This person was like, well, I wanted to move into Buchanan, but the taxes were just too high. And I said, oh, really? Because, my tax bill is available for anybody to take a look at. And, I don't have the numbers with me this evening, but I am not like some other elected officials who tax returns are a secret. My tax bill for the city of Buchanan is available for people to look at. This person told me that she was looking at some land on Shermer Parkway, and because we were charging taxes to fund the Buchanan Promise, that's why our taxes are all out of whack. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why if you hear people say things like that, please contact someone through the city, go back to the Promise website, and I had to explain what an endowment was. A gentleman gave us the money. It's self-perpetuated funding. It has nothing to do with, if anyone ever asks you for money for the Promise, you should call the mayor and tell them, because that's not how this goes. So by coming here tonight, and we are really glad to see all of you. It is a little intimidating. We think, oh, now what's the, is there a big problem we're not aware of? And we thank you for coming, because a lot of the work we do is a little boring. You don't need to hear that we need a new front end on the dump truck, but when the dump truck comes to your neighborhood to help pick up leaves or whatever, that's your money. And we like to take care of the things, and it involves a little boring conversation, and now it's 8:32 and you've been listening to us for an hour and a half, but that's how you know firsthand. And hopefully with the work Evan's doing, our Gladys has updated our city municipal website. It's looking great. There's more information there for you now. Please take advantage of those things. And if you do not get the information you need, City Hall ladies are good, and we all answer our emails, don't we? We take phone calls. So please, if there's something and it doesn't seem right to you, before you hit share on Facebook, I really strongly recommend getting a hold of one of us and finding out if it's really true before you forward something on, because I've seen some crazy stuff out there about the city of Buchanan, and it's like, I don't even know where that person got it from. So thank you for coming. You should all be commended. And with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
All right.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you for coming. Have a nice
All
evening.
of our emails and phone numbers are posted online.
Yep.
Nobody calls me. I am very polite on the phone, I promise.
Yes,
I am
he
very
is.
polite on the phone.
For the most part,